Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hivemind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. And of course, here's the meme of the day, brought to you by Hivemind.com. Well, there it is, another coin in the I was right jar. And as I always say with this stuff, it's not because I'm some big brain genius. No, it's just what other possible conclusion can you come to unless you have incurable Trump derangement syndrome, the idea that NATO countries were going to be able to keep up with these despicable betrayals. Obviously, that wasn't the case, and I think that's especially even more true following the announcement of a ceasefire. And well, that's exactly the story. Roughly 24 hours after the announcement, it appears we are now seeing full-on capitulation from some of Europe's top leaders as well as from the European Union. Another massive predictable win for the president and another massive fat stinking L for these EU globalists. I'm going to give you the full update, but this video is actually brought to you guys by American Hartford Gold, so let's play that clip. This video is brought to you by American Hartford Gold. Folks, what can I say other than buy gold and ask questions later? I'm sure you guys have seen how gold as an asset has performed over the last couple of years. We're looking at roughly a 3x since Joe Biden's inflation crisis. And you know, that really there is the message. The ugly, insidious tax known as inflation. Many people across the world have essentially learned the lesson that you need to be holding assets of stored value. And in most cases, that means securing your hard-earned wealth in physical assets like gold and silver. And friends, that's where our longtime friends at American Hartford Gold come into play. They're the absolute best in the business. We're talking 5-star ratings across the board and an A+ at the Better Business Bureau. We're talking the best in the business. And all it takes is a simple phone call. Just call in and they'll either send physical gold and silver straight to your doorstep, or they can help you add it to your IRA or 401k. We're talking basically zero hassle and all your gold investing needs met. And of course, might as well add a little bit of sugar to sweeten the pot. American Hartford Gold is also running a special right now where you can get up to $15,000 in free silver on qualifying purchases. All you got to do is call 844-441-005. That's 844-441-005, or just text Hivemind one word to 65532. That's Hivemind one word to 65532. Make the call, make the text, and get your finances right with American Hartford Gold. Now back to the video. All right, folks, so it's exactly like I said, cut and dry. We're talking full-blown capitulation. We're now getting news that Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, after weeks of saying this is not our war, we want nothing to do with it, and even denying airbase use and airspace to the American military, well, roughly a week and a half later, we're getting reports that the Italian Prime Minister is now willing to help with the American mission in the Strait of Hormuz, and that apparently NATO as a whole is considering the same thing.
Another little piece of breaking news here. En route, the Secretary General of NATO's comments that NATO may be willing to play a role in the possible Strait of Hormuz mission if it's able to. Italy was asked if it's willing to assist the United States. A spokesperson for Italy and the Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni said, we'll see how the conversation with the Hormuz group goes.
We also have this clip from the Chancellor of Germany.
NATO partners. While I understand the demands for a clear stance, let me say this here as well. I do not want a split in NATO. NATO is a guarantor of our security, especially in Europe. We need to keep a cool head here.
Yeah, all of a sudden they're in full-blown panic mode at the idea that NATO might collapse. In other words, America might leave NATO, which would cause NATO to collapse. Because yeah, sure, you know, during these NATO summits, you see all these different nations, all these different leaders, and it's projected as a collective effort. But the reality is, it's mostly America from a funding and logistics standpoint. And now, well, I guess Donald Trump's threat has been heard far and wide, and in comes the sobering frickin' reality check from these absolute colossal morons that they are absolutely nothing without the American taxpayer. And really, what a shift in tone. From spending the last couple of weeks lecturing us to now total capitulation and begging for forgiveness. We even have the NATO Secretary General now praising Donald Trump on CNN.
Is the world safer today than it was before the war was started?
Absolutely. Because, and this is thanks to President Trump's leadership, degrading these capabilities is really very important for your and my safety here in the US, in Europe, in the Middle East.
And I guess that's another element of the sobering reality check here, that Trump was doing what they didn't have the balls to do, what they don't have the capability to do. They made it seem like Donald Trump had lost his mind. He was taking on an unrealistic endeavor. It had nothing to do with them. It was a complete disaster, and they wanted to distance themselves. To now Keir Starmer pretending as if, you know, he had some element to play in this whole thing. Now all of a sudden, oh, you know, Trump's making the world a safer place. Hey, maybe we should help help him in the Strait of Hormuz. Absolute freaking dinguses. Completely disgraceful how they didn't see that since day one, and once again just shows the cowardice, how cowardly these NATO nations truly are, because when shit really hit the fan, when it was time to actually step up to the plate and do the right thing, they were nowhere to be seen, hiding under the freaking kitchen table, and now all of a sudden, as the smoke is cleared, now they want to show up. Yeah, only when it's really easy, huh? An absolute clown show, and that's the way I see it. You know, true allies are with you thick and thin, even when the decision is difficult, when the decision may be controversial, even when the outcome may not be clear, may not be a foregone conclusion. True allies show up to the frickin' plate, and once again, Trump shows that these are not true allies. They constantly doubt him, they constantly laugh in his face, just like they did in that infamous clip in 2017, when the Germans and other European delegations were literally laughing in his face. You know, they're always standing on a pedestal. They make it seem as if they're so intellectually and morally superior. Donald Trump is such a brute. But time and time again, he proves that he's operating on a completely different level than they are. And my stance here remains unchanged. Now's the time to teach these clowns an absolute frickin' lesson. Maybe it's unrealistic, but I still believe that NATO is a complete clown show. It's a one-sided arrangement. I'm much more in favor of bilateral security agreements. You know, after seeing what we saw, in no universe do I believe that Spain deserves anything that America gives it. France, frankly, could go frick itself. And so honestly, I hope Donald Trump doesn't give these people credit based on this little pathetic capitulation. I still think America should leave NATO. Send these pompous bureaucrats a clear frickin' message that it's time for them to step up to the plate and start defending themselves. Either that or NATO needs significant reforms that basically guarantee cooperation in these military instances and also forces these ally nations to start seriously spending on defense. President Trump took on a massive military endeavor here, and they collectively told him to go screw himself. You know, that's a betrayal that is simply unforgivable. That shows that this NATO alliance is simply not worth it. It's not worth it for America, especially not if Trump actually manages to put Iran in their place. You know, at that point, I think it's time for reform and reparations. It's either full-blown reform of NATO or America leaves, and frankly, on top of that, Denmark should hand over Greenland. Enough playing games with these pompous, arrogant fools. You know, it's sad to say because I put European culture on a pedestal. I am European by blood. My entire upbringing was based on European culture and European traditions and values, but Europe has become a complete joke, a farce. They're a paper tiger. They've decimated the continent with mass migration. They've gone full-blown socialist. It's an economy in total stagnation. They do nothing. They produce nothing. And yet all they do is wag the finger, look down on America, lecture it as they fail time and time again. And yet they continue to expect America to foot their bills, whether it's national security, military spending through NATO, or their digital tax scams, the way they're taxing American tech companies to fund themselves. The reality is they're a freaking leech on the skin, and what do when you have a leech sucking your blood? You peel it off and throw it in the damn river. I've seen enough, and I've had enough, and this latest betrayal was the biggest eye-opening moment. President Trump put this NATO coalition to a test, and they failed miserably. Now's the time to act accordingly. Anyways, that's what I got. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.